Hello, everybody. Welcome to another riveting episode. Now, I admit that it's been a while since I promised that I was going to do a review. I had teased up a lot of stuff, a few trailers here or there, to get to season 1, and then I just kind of never did a video on it, which I admit I lost track of things, and then by the time I really could have done it, I felt I was too late, and I figured, okay, I'll just cover the second season and the first one all together when it was all said and done. At the time of this recording, they announced the season 3 renewal, which sucks there, but I will inform you there on that video when that comes out. So you're gonna get 2 My Adventures of Superman videos for sure. But anyways, let's stop messing around. So what is this show? My Adventures with Superman is a animated show that came out about a year or 2 ago on Adult Swim. Maybe put on Adult Swim at the Toonami block. It originally was going to be on the regular Cartoon Network block, but they thought it was too adult, obviously, and then they just swapped it around. But to those that aren't familiar with my Twitter followings, I've made it no secret that I outright despise the show. I have kind of gone on a big sort of vendetta against this, because this is a show that wants to imitate anime. If you look at the reference footage that I have in the background playing, you could tell that they're trying to go for a very distinct style, and some of you might even recognize this style. And it is because it is the same individuals who made the Netflix She-Ra animated series and the Voltron series. And there's also a number of people who are from Owl House and Infinity Train and all those other kind of shows that people really don't like because of the patterns and the style choices that they've done and the impact they've had, in a very negative spotlight. This show, it tries to be an anime, but the most watered down variation of it. It wants to try to replicate its aesthetic, it wants to try to replicate the style, it wants to replicate all of the popular, various animes from, Dragon Ball, Attack on Titan, Sailor Moon, etc., without really having any care for the source material in of itself. And it really damages this show. It sacrifices the potential of a Superman show just to become anime, or a filtered down anime, as I said, because unlike an actual anime, a lot of the character designs are just bland, terrible. Superman's suit is just this overcomplicated, panel-lined mess of a suit that's got 2 different shades of blue, all these lines that doesn't mean anything. And then even in the finale of season 2, the suit even gets worse because they removed the trunks, which was a real big problem because you have nothing to contrast and the color wise. Then Lois Lane, they just made her into a 12-year-old boy. I know that a lot of people on Twitter try to gaslight themselves into thinking that she was something attractive or hot. Just no, she's not. She's just Luz from Owl House. That's all it is, and there's nothing there. But that's besides the point. Swap Jimmy Olsen, but that's usually how it goes. They always do that to the Gingers. And then, of course, one of the biggest things I've had is the choice of the villain designs. The villain designs, which are god-awful, especially when you compare them to their more proper counterparts. Especially when you have characters like Livewire, who was not a comic book first character. She originated from the original animated series on Superman, similar to how Harley Quinn originated on the original Batman, the animated series. You know, she has very iconic design, you know, the simple black jumpsuit with a bluish-white lightning bolt through it, you know, the blue hair, the pale skin, perfect. You don't get that with this version of Livewire. This version of Livewire is dark-skinned, got a weird mullet haircut, side-shaved, is also a lesbian for some reason, don't know why. It just happens. It's not even a fleshed out story. It's just like, nope, she's there. And she's a lesbian, and then that's it. And then like 2 seconds of that, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that was a waste of my time, you know. Deathstroke, they have him voiced by Jerry from Rick and Morty. You know, they have him playing this weird 20-something, like Slade Wilson, who that just sounds wrong, because Slade Wilson should be someone that has at least a good 20 or so years over any character like Superman or Batman, because he's meant to be an old guy, you know, that's just jacked up on steroids, but he's not even that. They just give him a goofy Iron Man outfit. Parasite is just tech-based, which is another theme of this show, as a lot of the characters are just powered up by tech, you know? And there are only, like, very rare exceptions. And, like Mixie Spitlick. That's the only thing. But the problem is, that has an issue, because that episode, Mixie Spitlick is trying to get a hat to unlock his full power. So it's like, kind of techie in a sense, you know? I'm splitting hairs on that, but like all these other characters, it makes no sense for tech-based. Livewire, her powers are tech-based. Deathstroke, tech-based suit. Parasite, which is not the worst offender of the bunch. Like, why is it a tech-based suit? Like, Silver Banshee was meant to be a supernatural ghost possessing her body and cursing her, okay? She's supposed to be like a cursed spirit, not a girl with a wannabe Black Canary Screecher device, you know? And it's just it's so bland. Like, they're so bland and colorless, like, designs. They're just generic. They rob any interesting, like, aspects to them, any interesting traits to it, you know? And in terms of villains, there's just nothing there. There's nothing there to them, you know? They're all lackluster, boring, no fun to them. Their outfits don't even contrast real well with Superman. It just looks like he's just fighting a bunch of, like, generic goons, you know? And it's not even, like, the fun kind, like, say, Batman fighting a bunch of Joker goons or anything. It's just nothing there. And then, like, even when you get down to, like, the main villains, their plots are just kind of there. They don't really serve much of anything. And, like, I don't know, the voice work, you know, some voices are okay, some are not. It is very much union type show where they can only get so many voices, yada yada. They've got Jack Quaid to voice Superman. If you're familiar with him, he plays Huey from The Boys. He was also on one of the Star Trek shows, I don't know which one of the bad ones, which I don't think that narrows it down. I think it's not a terrible choice, but I think the line direction they give him just does not help. Because while it's nice to see a Superman that's, like, you know, very nice and, you know, maybe a smidgen bit naive, you know, trying to be a Boy Scout-ish, the problem is they made him too soft. They made him way too soft and without any, like, bite to his bark. You know, I appreciate you trying not to go down a Snyder route, but the problem is you're going too far in the other direction. You are going too far in a route that should not go there. You know, like, I want Superman to be a nice, hopeful Boy Scout, you know, because he's meant to be, you know, inspirational. He's supposed to inspire people, give them hope, make them smile, you know, be a good guy, and all of that. But when the situation calls for it, he needs to have a stern, like, firmness. You know, he has to be able to, like, you know, have that serious moment to him where all the chips are down. It's like the smile goes down. He's like, yep, he's focused on the act. They don't really do that. They make him way too soft, and it doesn't help, especially when they start fiddling with the powers. You know, because as I've said, they want to make this anime, so they drastically do weird stuff to his powers, like his ice breath. He just roars it out like an anime beam for some reason. It's never really explained why he can do the things he does. Despite 20 or so episodes of this, you know, he could suddenly, like, have a electricity fly out of him, and he can make, like, a energy shield construct with no explanation at all. It just magically appears, and suddenly he can control it and master it without any help or explanation to it, you know. And of course, like, the start of the show, they kind of just start teasing off various powers that would start popping in, like, you have the super strength and all that. Then they would reveal the X-ray vision in one episode, the hearing in another episode, etc., which kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because with the start of the show, they showcase Clark discovering his powers of flight and strength when he's like about 10 or 12, and they cut it about 10 or so years later after that to showcase, you know, Clark when he's like about 20 something like that. You know, he's definitely in his early 20s, you know, so I would figure that at around that time you would start to develop your powers earlier, so it makes no sense there, you know. But they just wanted to incorporate a scene from Amazing Spider-Man 1 where, you know, he's accidentally breaking stuff and, you know, having lost control, you know, but even though he should have total control over that, but whatever. As for other characteristics of other characters, Jimmy Olsen, he's fine, you know. He's a very supportive guy, supportive friend. I really don't have any issues with his characterization. You know, he acts like a friend, and he's trying to do his best. And there's kind of not much to say there. It's like I don't really hate him as a character. Then there's Lois Lane, who was probably my most hated character I've ever seen in the show. Who I just don't know what is wrong with her. She's just completely narcissistic. In the first episode, she lies to Clark and Jimmy to help her on a story she's trying to break, and it potentially gets them killed. And sure, she tries to apologize after all that, but that doesn't work, because then she still does it over and over again, and she gets into this bit where she's trying to find out Superman's identity. You know, she then finds out it's Clark, and she tries to get him to tell her, but then she gets upset that he won't, like, tell her to her face, so she jumps off a roof, so he has to save her. He saves her, and then she gets upset with him about it because he wouldn't tell her. Like, he wouldn't tell this woman that he's barely known for weeks, his most important secrets, you know? And, yeah, very toxic, very, like, ugh. And even when they try to, like, flesh out her story, it's like, oh, she's got all these trust issues because of her father. You know, he's always moving and being secretive because her father is a government agent and whatnot. It doesn't really explain anything. In fact, it makes her look even worse when her father is trying to flee from Amanda Waller and trying to hide. He's like, look, I need to go into hiding because I know she's going to come after me, and I do not want you getting caught in the crossfire. And even in that episode, multiple times, they nearly get killed. And she says, like, no, you gotta, like, why everybody leaving me? Where? It's like, do you not, like, you can't do this. You're always leaving. You know, trying to paint it as, like, some bad thing. Even though that it's shown in the episode that her father is trying to teach her all the lessons to be able to handle herself on her own, and he's just doing what a good father would. And speaking of fathers and parental relationships, the Kents are barely existent in this. They show up a little bit in the beginning of the first season. They have some like glimpses throughout, maybe in the finale, but that's it. They have no like wider effect, you know, because the show wants to de-emphasize the importance of the Kents, you know, not to show the importance of their teachings to Clark and showing him that he's human, that he's a person. He's not like some godly being, you know, to showcase them the strong ideals that he's grown up with. You know, they want to remove them to prop up Lois and Jimmy, of course, to make them the most important people in his life. Which, look, okay, I get it, friends are very important, but I don't like that idea where you're taking away one thing so you can prop up the other. You need to strike a balance, and this show did not have a balance. It had an outright bias when it came to that. And then we get to Supergirl, who gets introduced in the later half of season 2. I really didn't have anything much to say there. She probably had the most interesting concept of a story there, where she was raised by Brainiac and was kind of sort of like a Winter Soldier thing, where he would brainwash her to like do his bidding and destroy planets and civilizations and stuff, and then she has to like wake up from that, you know. That was probably the most interesting concept the entire show ever brought out, but it's like not really done. There's nothing really done there. And Brainiac is teased off as this big ultimate bad, but you don't do anything with him until about season 2. And Michael Emerson voices him, and look, he's a good actor, but I think the delivery for his voice does not fit the role of Brainiac. It is what it is there. I can't really go much into detail on that. What I can say is that this show just annoys me to my core. It annoys me that I saw so many people try to say that this was the greatest thing ever, or say that this was better than the original animated series, which let's just be real, that's not the case at all, okay? Because if the original animated series was not as good at all, was not that good, then you wouldn't have certain characters, okay? Livewire would not exist if it wasn't for the original animated series, And I've seen other shows that take in similar concepts of a very young, almost year one like Superman, and they've portrayed him far more accurately, far more faithfully to what he should be. And this show sacrifices the Superman source material, the DC source material, in favor of trying to be an anime, but a safe anime. a filtered down westernized variation of an anime, okay? They want to take the aesthetics, the looks, filter it down to fit whatever the current trend or whatever is, and then just pat themselves on the back saying, yes, we made anime too, we're original, it's an homage. Like, no, it's not an homage. You literally have Kara wearing the outfit that Android 18 wore during Dragon Ball. Okay, you literally had an Attack on Titan reference. You had Superman transform into a suit with a Sailor Moon sequence. Okay, you're not subtle and just saying it's an homage. It's not an homage. It's you being unoriginal. It's you being talentless hacks that are relying on anime key jingles to buy your way out of it. And it doesn't work with me. The action is plain and stale. You don't really feel the hits. Superman doesn't even punch anybody, barely, in this show. He's mostly just tackling people. And look, I'm not expecting him to rip people in half like he's Omni-Man. But I expect him to at least be able to throw a punch here and there. Supergirl lands more punches than he does in both seasons, And it's just ridiculous to me. But, end of the day, this is a show I would not recommend watching at all. I would say, if you want to watch a good animated Superman product, just watch the original animated series, go watch Legion of Superheroes, go watch any of the other animated Superman movies out there. There's about at least a dozen of them, a lot of good ones. Watch Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Just watch all those ones. Watch those good ones. If you want a taste of a decent, faithful Superman animated thing. That's all I gotta say on that one. Because this show only got 2 seasons because that's how the format works for animated productions. They always order 20 episodes and then they chop it down to 2 seasons, because that's just how they do it. They, as I said at the beginning of the recording, they renewed it for a season 3, and I expect that's going to be the last season, I would think, because they're going to compare the numbers for season 3, and if it's not as good as season 2, or if it's not higher, then they are not going to justify putting another season out there. I definitely have concerns about what they're going to do for season 3, but I will deal with that once it gets out there. I'd like to thank you all for watching me ramble and rant about this particular show. And I look forward to the next one, So I'll see you all in season 3, where I will try not to make it late. Bye-bye.